Hi. I saw a YouTube video today by Andy Sturkovitz talking about how it feels to be learning to code for a career. I'll put a link somewhere. I don't know how this came up on my feed, but it came up. That's YouTube for you. And yeah, I watched it. I had some comments which based on my experience, and I'm sometimes a technical interviewer when people are applying for software development jobs. I've been in the industry a long time. I thought I had a different perspective of this, so I can't really talk much about what Andy said about learning because I learned 40 years ago and the world's a bit different. But yeah, I'm going to talk about how old hands in the industry see prospective developers who are coming in. I'm not a YouTuber, so I was going to write a comment on his video, and then I thought it would get a bit long. So people who are watching the video want to watch videos, so I'm recording this on my phone. We'll see how it comes out, but no production here. I don't do this as a rule. First thing that struck me is when he said when he first went for a job interview after teaching himself to program. Is that he was worried about being seen as a fraud. He wasn't real. He just sat at home and yeah, done stuff. And he felt, is this how he's going to be seen, or is this even true that he's not really a programmer? Now, a lot of people who do come in to try to get jobs in programming are basically frauds. They can't actually sit down and produce software. So that's certainly a big worry for anyone recruiting entry-level programmers is, yeah, can this person program at all? But from that point of view, being self-taught is actually a big plus, right? In the real red flags are someone who has done a course, who has turned up, sat through training for 2 hours a day, 4 hours a day, some number of weeks, done tests, answered questions, done a little project, possibly with assistance, got a certificate, thinks that's what being a programmer is. That's not what being a programmer is. Making software is a craft. It's a craft that you learn by doing it. So what I want to see in an entry-level programmer is someone who has actually made stuff that works. And if you've learned at home unassisted, that's a plus. That's how I learned. Again, different world 40 years ago as a child, different. But you can't be a programmer by reading and listening. You can only become a programmer by doing it. So the things are, what makes someone a programmer is being able to find a way to make something happen in a computer that they want to happen. And actually, most of the time, it's being able to work out why something is happening in the computer that you didn't want to happen, because that's the way we generally make software here in the industry. We get it wrong and then we fix it. So what I'm looking for is the way of thinking, the way of thinking that you get by building software, by working through problems when it gets difficult, by making mistakes and learning from them. And I don't just mean, bugs where you put something in wrong and you fix it, but design bugs where you've tried to do something one way and it hasn't worked out, and you've taken a different way and you've found that doing it the second way worked much better than trying to do it the first way. So when I'm involved in hiring a junior developer, I want to see that they have that experience, and you can totally get that on your own, doing your own projects by yourself, learning from manuals and web pages and videos or whatever, and actually working at it all on your own. The thing is that it's very difficult for me to find out, if you can do that or not. So, really important thing if you're interviewing is to talk about your thinking. Again, this isn't about what you know, it's about the way your mind works, the way you approach problems. That's what I want to see, that's what I want to find out about when I'm doing a technical interview. Now, there is knowledge, there's a lot of skills. How do you how do you do a callback in JavaScript? How do you define a class in Python? These nuts and bolt details things. The important thing in software is that nobody knows everything. Actually, nobody knows very much. Most serious projects are done by people who are learning as they go along at every level. They're learning techniques, they're learning languages, they're learning frameworks as they go along. Generally, most pieces of software that are in production are the first or the second project that some developer has done with the language and the framework and the tools that they were using. It's just things move so fast that's always the way. So if I'm doing a technical interview, I'm going to ask you about what you know. And that's not because there's anything specific that I want you to know. It's because if you've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours programming, learning the way of thinking, of building and fixing software, then as a byproduct, you must have learned some stuff. You must have learned the details of some languages, some libraries, some algorithms. Just, again, I don't care which they are, but you can't possibly have learned to program without accidentally learning this stuff as you go. And that's why I'm asking. So, again, don't get stressed by what you don't know. Be ready to talk about what you do know. That's what we're looking for. Also, it's a thing I do. I find interviewing people actually very difficult. I'm less stressed if I'm being interviewed than if I'm interviewing. But something I do, I will deliberately ask questions that I think about areas that I think the person won't know about. Not because I want to punish them or catch them out, but because I want to see the way anyone can memorize an answer. I want to see the way they think when they don't know the answer. I want to see how they approach a question of, how does Java do character sets? Well, I don't actually know how Java does character sets. I've not worked with them. But, what's a character set? How are you mapping? You're mapping codes to characters. You've got different encodings. You've got different sizes of encodings. You want to abstract this away from code that's dealing with these things. How does it all work? What's the difference between? If you can think about these things logically, that's what I'm looking for. Not if you just know the answers, I'll be a little disappointed, and I'll try and find something else that you don't know in order to see how you approach things that you don't know. Because in your job, you're going to be working with things you don't know. There's no job in the world that is going to pay you to write software that's already been written. You're always having to do something new. You're always going to have to do something that hasn't been done before, and learn. You're probably going to have to learn quite a bit about how to do it as you go. So that's, again, don't be afraid of what you don't know. Do be afraid. Do be ready to show what you do know. Do be ready to show that you are able to. That not knowing something isn't going to bring you to a screeching halt. That's not to say, obviously, that once you are working, you should always plow through absolutely everything without any help. That's a whole different question. But you have to be able to make progress on your own, and that's what we're looking for in a job candidate. again, once you're part of a team, you work with the team. You may need you shouldn't be trying to figure everything out by yourself. But yeah, you're going to hit that if every time you have a question you don't know the answer to, you're running to teacher, then you're not useful. Okay, so that's, in that sense, being self-taught is good, but there are potential minuses. If I see someone and I see that they haven't had any technical training, formal training of any kind, whether it's a computer science degree or a boot camp or whatever, these are less vital. So the main things that I'll be looking for beyond can someone actually make a thing that works are communication and some computer science basics. Again, then the reason these are less vital is because if you don't have them on day one, you can learn them, right? Whereas if you can't write code, then you're hopeless. You're in the wrong place. If you don't have these skills, you can get them, but it's still a plus, definitely a plus if you have them, if you can show you can have them. So communication, being able to describe a problem and a solution well, being able to communicate what the problem is, that's absolutely core to working in a software development team, is just being able to describe what is happening, what you have done, what you're planning to do, what isn't working, what you're stuck on, problems and solutions. Being able to document code, actually, to be honest, it's pretty damn rare at all levels, but being able to communicate in code, this class is to do X, this function is to do Y, in a way that's actually useful to someone else who's working on the code. That's really, really valuable skill. And some basic core computer science concepts, that's the other thing that are not 100% essential for an entry level, but are pluses, definite assets. Understanding core concepts like variable scope, variable duration, memory allocation, common data structures, patterns of concurrency. These are all, you're going to have to know these. If you don't know them on day one, maybe you can learn them, but if you know them, then you're that much better prepared for being a useful part of a software development team. Also, and again, this is partly because it's useful in its own right, and partly because it's evidence that you've actually spent real time developing software. Being able to use tools like source control systems, using Git, using packaging, just being at home in a computer environment, like Linux command line or Visual Studio or whatever it is, again, that you've spent your time doing. Want to see that you can that you've got some familiarity with being able to make stuff using the tools of software development. So these things, it's okay for there to be gaps in these things. If a company is hiring entry level programmers, they're almost certainly going to have a training budget. It's going to be part of their plans that they're expecting to bring people on and bring them up and make them more skilled. And these are things that can be taught, right? Learning to make, turning a blank screen into a working program is something that really can't just be taught. Learning the difference between a B tree and a hash table. These are things that you can just learn, that you can go on a course and you'll come back and you'll know them. So if it's not so critical if you don't have them on day one. But again, given two candidates, someone who already has this stuff, someone who doesn't, these things are valuable. They're positives. So that's in terms of how to learn. Again, I I learned for fun. It's a different world. But what I would think, and I haven't watched a bunch of Andy's Visit videos. Somehow this just came up on my feed. But for me, yeah, make something real, pick a project, build something, make it better, make it bigger. Do not be too ambitious, right? Again, if you might think, your tic-tac-toe game program running in a web page won't impress your friends, and it probably won't impress your friends. But real impressive software these days has man years of work in it. What you're going to build is never going to be that. Pick something small, pick something you can do, make it work, make it better, make it bigger, build for yourself that experience of working with software. I don't know, maybe find some open source software that you use and try and learn how to change it, and make changes, and that's another way. Another thing you can do. But that would be my suggestion there. Again, this may or may not line up with the rest of Andy's output of how he is encouraging people to learn. But that's what I would suggest for someone learning by themselves. And try and enjoy it. Again, the jackpot for me, if I'm trying to recruit an entry-level developer, is someone who programs for fun. I can't say absolutely that's essential, but that's how I've always seen it myself. That's how I am. And if I see someone like that, I'm going to be really encouraged. This is a person who's going to learn.